Thank you for joining us for the Success Network Conference Launch Plenary. To those of you I've met, hello again. And to those of you I haven't met, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. As was emphasized during Dr. Stroll's keynote, data is crucial to the work that we do to advance post-secondary attainment in the state of Illinois. As was also mentioned during Ida's opening remarks, curating and utilizing critical data is a key element of our regional work with the Success Network and our leadership communities. The Success Network Data Dashboard serves as a tool to support this work. The goals of the Data Dashboard are many, but namely to provide a nimble tool to support our leadership communities, provide trends over time and direct comparison of districts, highlight where communities are making progress, and inform where more work is needed, bring together multiple sources of data, both on the state level and national level, and to enable communities to download their data for further use, and also overall to serve as a jumping off point to further inquiry and analysis. The dashboard compiles data from the Illinois Report Card, which itself collects data at the national and state levels. At the national level, we have data from the National Student Clearinghouse. From the state level, of course, we have data from the Illinois State Board of Education, the Illinois Community College Board, and the Illinois Board of Higher Education. Currently, the dashboard is comprised of 6 metrics: 9th grade on track, early college coursework, CTE participation, high school graduation, post-secondary enrollment, and remediation. Using the dashboard, users can compare data across districts and across leadership communities, not for competition, but to see who you can learn from. Users can also benchmark their data with state averages. And now I have the honor of introducing our presenters for the lunch plenary. Today, we are honored to be joined by 5 members of the Success Network Student Advisory Council, or SAC. The SAC is a diverse group of current high school students of all grade levels and from across Illinois. During their 2-year commitment, members of the SAC gather on a regular basis to share perspectives that inform the Success Network's efforts and statewide policy more broadly, deepen their own knowledge on issues that advance educational equity, and strengthen their understanding of the education policy and practice landscape in Illinois. Our presenters for today are Aisha Kamara, Grayson Horn, Paige Jackson, Daniela Villegas, and Tawasul Adam. These students represent 4 high school districts and 3 regions across the state of Illinois and volunteered their time with us over the past 5 months, working hard to put together an insightful and impactful presentation for you today. These SAC members were tasked with sharing one view from the Success Network dashboard with a focus group made up of representative sample of students from their high school. And they asked their focus group questions like, what's one thing that surprised you in these data? And what do you think can be done to improve these outcomes? They analyzed these responses and generated recommendations based on the qualitative data from the focus groups and quantitative data from the Success Network dashboard and the Illinois Report Card. We are so excited to have our presenters share their analysis and recommendations with you all today, followed by a panel interview discussion facilitated by Anna Moya of the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. Now, please welcome our first presenter, Aisha Kamara.
That's amazing. All right, so before I get started, I'd like to shortly introduce myself. My name is Aisha Kamara. I'm a junior attending South Shore International College Preparatory, located in Chicago, Illinois, and let's get started. The school that I decided to hold my focus group at was my school, South Shore International College Preparatory. And a little bit about South Shore International College Preparatory is that it's home to 600 TARs, so go TARs. 95% of the student population is African American students, while the other 5% is Latin American, Hispanic, and biracial students. And an interesting fact about South Shore is that it's known for its rigorous academic levels like CTE, the business and health science program, as well as IB and dual credit and dual enrollment. The dashboard that I chose was CTE participation, and CTE participation is the career and technical percentage of students enrolled in career and technical educational courses. And my focus group was home to 7 to 9 students, and everything we discussed is coming up. Discoveries in my data, low CTE percentage. Across all my focus groups, the students were mainly shocked about how low the CT was. So it really piqued their curiosity to see that, oh, what happened to students who dreamt about being doctors or dreamt about being nurses and dentists? So what happened to those people? And if you did not know, my school, South Shore International, is 20% for CT participation, and Chicago Public Schools is only 11.7%. So awareness of my CTE programs. An exciting takeaway from my focus group was that every student showed awareness of a CTE program. So this showed that low percentage for CTE isn't due to lack of motivation, but the lack of access in certain school districts. To talk briefly about this chart, the blue line is my school, South Shore, and the orange line is Chicago Public Schools. The blue line shows from 2020 to 2025, Chicago Public Schools is 14.1%, and then drastically dropped from 14.1% to 10% in 2025 in a span of 3 years, while my school started from 20.85% to 20%. My findings and recommendations. So overall, in conclusion, the data set was extremely low in Chicago Public Schools, and if you did not know, Chicago Public Schools takes up 1.3 percentage out of the 3.0 percentage in Illinois. So the data set reflects poorly because there's limited access and a constant decline in acceptance in CTE. The Illinois statewide percentage is 48.8%, while Chicago Public Schools, as I mentioned before, was 11.7%. And this also showed that the data set reflects poorly only because there's limited access and a constant decline in participation. So, my recommendations. I do believe that this data set can change and will change in the future, so educators, policymakers, or anyone in general should consider guest speakers. And the guest speakers can come from different organizations or just different people, and they can express how successful they were through the CTE program. An example of this at my school is that we had a Navy SEAL come to our school and discuss how she was successful through the CTE program. Another recommendation is better funding, and if funding can go to different schools with a CTE program. Another example of this at my school was we have to split up funds with business entrepreneurship and the medical program. So there is a lot of fundraising that we have to do. As the hosted treasurer, hosted stands for Health Occupation Students of America. I have to be in charge for the fundraisers, create them, manage them, and bring them to the school board to decide if it can be passed throughout a certain week. And my last recommendation is forming partnerships. And the partnerships can be with industries, hospitals, or even just universities. And my last example for this at my school is that we're partnered with Lori Children's Hospitals and Zebroda Medical Organization. And they love coming to us and discussing different apprenticeships and internships for us to come throughout the summertime. So hopefully my recommendation stood out to one of you all in the future and it can be established. Now up next, we have a Grayson Horn.
Hi everyone, my name is Grayson Horn and I am here representing Vienna High School. Today I will be presenting on the early college coursework metric of the dashboard geared towards dual credit. My school is located in the southern Illinois region and it is very rural. Most of our students pass corn and bean fields just to get to school. That is how rural we are. My school is special because it is small, so everyone here is like one big family with a lot of school spirit. Researching dual credit at my school was interesting and exciting, especially my methodology to pick the students for my focus group. I decided to use the same wheel spinner that I used to randomly pick spotlights for the Talon. The Talon is our school newspaper, which in my opinion is amazing. After talking to my focus group, I realized that there are students who don't know what dual credit is or its purpose. Considering dual credit is something that fell into my lap junior year and allowed me to complete 1 year of college, as well as take specific classes geared towards my career in elementary education, I want my peers to be able to experience the same academic success I have. This data is comparing dual credit rather than AP, since dual credit is the only form of early college coursework we offer. The light blue is representing Vienna and the black is representing the whole state. As you can see in the data in 2021, there was a peak in students taking dual credit classes, and that is what I would like to see stay steady rather than it decreasing like it did again in 2022. The freshman and sophomore in my focus group all said something along the lines of, "We have no clue what that means," or "What is dual credit?" I think this is because these students are not yet informed on the purpose of dual credit and how it can make a significant impact in their life just as it has mine. Students should be able to understand the concept of what dual credit is and how it can ultimately impact their futures. Finally, my recommendations to teachers, principals, superintendents, and anyone who works in a school setting. Students should be taught earlier about what dual credit is, as well as given the opportunity to understand that it can be helpful to them both academically and professionally. I believe that if educators take more time to inform, we would see numbers of students taking dual credit increase and a big stress relief on students to come. Thank you. Now taking it to Paige Jackson.
Hello, my name is Paige Jackson, and I am a junior at Moline High School. Before I get into my metric, which is ninth grade on track, I'll be talking a little bit about my school. At Moline, we have 2,189 students and a wide demographic of students, as you can see up on the board. An interesting fact about Moline is we recently had our football field redone to completely turf, which is a really big deal because it used to get so muddy like all the time, and it was not really fun to deal with. My metric is ninth grade on track. I chose ninth grade on track because I am the CTE ambassador at my high school. And for those of you who aren't tired of hearing what CTE stands for, CTE is Career and Technical Education. And at Moline, we are working on the transition period between 8th grade and ninth grade. And I figured ninth grade on track would be great to help figure out what needs to happen to make that transition easier. And ninth grade on track is the percentage of ninth grade students who earn specific credits in the main categories of school. And for my focus group, I picked 8 students who I kind of knew and wanted a wide, diverse thing of every grade I could possibly get. And we were able to come up with some pretty cool stuff. For the data, we have the state average, which is 89.30%, and our school average is around 81%, I think. But in the demographics, my focus group took note of the Black students, low-income students, and students with IEPs as the lower areas, so take note of this for later. In my focus group, I thought it would be fun to compare with neighboring districts because, school rivalries and stuff. And the trend I want, everybody to make note of is the percentages. The percentages during 2020 and then onward. So just keep that in mind for later as well. So as I said, in my focus groups, I had us look at the percentages for our neighboring schools, which is Rock Island and United Township. And my focus group found it where we were oh yeah, we're ahead of Rock Island because we have a really, really big rivalry with them. So it's we have a one-up on them. But we kind of expected UT to be a little bit ahead of us because they have better resources than us. So it was we were oh, well, that makes sense. For our demographics, like I mentioned earlier, we noticed that the areas where students were struggling the most were students with IEPs, students from low-income households, and our Black students. One thing that we found really exciting was our percentages is slowly making an increase. So we're hopefully going to work our way back up to where we used to be. One of the major things that we noticed in these focus groups was that, like I said earlier, the percentages in 2020 was way higher than everything else. We determined this to be because students had access to their phones. they were able to like cheat because you know how online learning was. You didn't have your camera on. You could just Google anything. And so we're figuring it's mainly because of that. And then once we got back into school, they didn't have that, and they had been like it'd been like a crutch for them. Some recommendations that we came up with is provide more info on the courses, so that way students know what they're getting into. So that way, if a student wants to be more challenged academically, they can know what the courses are going to be like. And they're like, oh, this one isn't going to challenge me as much. I want this one instead, and vice versa. So if you're like, okay, this course is a little bit out of what I can comfortably do, they can go to one that's more suited for their skill level. And another recommendation we had was make sure students know that they can change or drop a class if it's too much pressure on them, because it adds a lot of pressure on them to feel like they have to keep up this expectation. But letting them know that they have the option to like be in a more comfortable class is really important. Myself in 8th grade, you like have to meet certain like requirements to be recommended for specific classes. I didn't meet a requirement for one of them, but my teacher was like, do you want to be recommended for it anyway? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. I mean, like all my friends are in it. And if I had known about like what the course was, like if I had more information on it, I most likely would not have done the course. It was stuff that I wasn't very comfortable with. And if I had known I was able to drop the course, I would have dropped it, because overall it hurt my 9th grade on track percentage because it was just out of my skill level. And the last 2 recommendations we have is focus on the students who need the help most. Don't just like look at like a broad thing and like just the whole data. Look at like the problem areas, look at like the specific students and think how you can help those specific students. Because if you're looking at the broad thing, somebody who's like doing better but like struggling a little isn't going to have the same needs as students who are struggling more. And lastly, consider like tutoring groups or revamping how tutoring groups work, providing like easier access to it, making it more accessible, because tutoring is very like expensive. Like at my school, we have tutoring options, but like they're more expensive. And for students who need help, they might not have the resources or funding to get the help they need because of the costs. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you take away some stuff from this and like think how you can implement it at your own schools. And now I would like to welcome Tawasul and Daniela.
My name is Tawasul, and I'm a current senior at North Chicago Community High School.
Oh, my name is Daniela, and I'm a current senior also in North Chicago High School.
So a little bit about our school. North Chicago is located in Lake County, and that's like towards the upper side of Illinois. Our student body is primarily Black and Hispanic. And one interesting fact is that both me and Danny were involved in track last year. And that was the first year our girls' track team was qualified for state for 2 events and brought home a winning trophy. Go Warhawks!
So me and Tawasul wanted to explore the graduation rate among the different demographics in our school. As you can see, the graduation rate for our Hispanic student population is greater than our Black student population and the state's average. Our Black population has a 76.7% graduation rate, while the Hispanic population has a 90.4%. We would also like to mention that the majority of our district is low income with a 91.3%, and we've delved deeper into this when evaluating students' responses.
So we decided to choose 8 participants in our focus group. We generated a random sample from our student population and selected 2 students from each grade. When selecting these students, we wanted to make sure that our sample was representative, so we kept in mind their race and gender. For those that didn't show up or were absent, a random student was chosen to substitute for them.
So one common finding we found is that across all grades and demographics, all the students in our focus group noted how the Hispanic students had a higher graduation rate than the Black students. When it comes to student input, many students mention how being low income has an effect on how well they're doing academically, because at home they don't receive motivation or encouragement.
This encouragement comes from the adults in school and at home. The adults at home might be mom or dad or grandma, but the adults in schools are the teachers we see in class every day, the counselors we talk to for advice, and the college and career navigators that help us plan our future. Being from a low-income background is often met with being the first in our family to graduate high school and go to a four-year college. For example, me and Daniela are the first in our family to attend a four-year college with full ride. We have also worked during our high school career and tackled balancing work and school. When talking to our peers, we found that many of them work and prioritize working over going to school due to financial responsibilities.
To conclude, we notice how our school's graduation rate has increased from a 71.3% in 2020 to an 85.9% in 2025.
However, our graduation rate for the Black student population is still lower than the state average. To combat this, we recommend that the educators and admin in our school should support and enforce the same expectations for all students regardless of demographics. We also recommend that due to the majority of our school being low income, that admin and counselors should advertise paid work study and internships that we can do during our 4 years in high school. Advertising programs like QuestBridge and Trio that are tailored to supporting low-income and first-generation students.
Tawaso is actually a QuestBridge scholar that was financially supported by them providing a full ride to a selective college.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to our student panel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation and all of that really interesting deep dive into the data. And I myself found it really refreshing, all of the categories that you all chose, learning a lot. Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Moya. I am with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, also known as ISAC. And I'll be moderating for them today. And just, again, thank you for sharing your data. And I did want to get started with if you can all go around the room and let us know, tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the career readiness activities that you have participated in while in high school.
All right. Is this on? Yeah. Oh, it's on? Okay. Hi, my name is Aisha Kamar. I'm a junior at South Shore International College Preparatory, and I'm a part of HOSA. I'm a HOSA treasurer. HOSA stands for HOSA Health Occupation Students of America, and I'm also enrolled in their CTE program.
Hi, my name is Grayson Horn. I'm a senior at Vienna High School. I'm currently on the education pathway at my school and involved in a multitude of clubs. And I just found out that I received a full ride to Southern Illinois University Carbondale to pursue a degree in elementary education.
My name is Paige Jackson, and I'm a junior at Moline High School. I am in like every single music thing available. My jacket actually has like a bunch of the stuff I'm in. And I plan on going to college for music as well.
Hi, I'm Daniela Villegas. I'm currently a senior in North Chicago High School. Right now, I'm president of the National Honor Society. I'm also in the Mikva Challenge, and I'm a yearbook for college. I recently got into College of the Holy Cross, and I'm going for political science. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tawasu. I'm a current senior at North Chicago Community High School. At school, I'm involved in clubs like Student Council and National Honor Society. I've also played basketball all 4 years of high school. And this upcoming fall, I hope to major in biology at Carleton College.
Thank you all. And all of you are very humble. We do have a Golden Apple Scholar up on the stage too. So these students really are amazing. So we learned a lot about the data, right? But now let's learn a little bit about the process. So before the project, how familiar were you all with data and how to understand like data and school outcomes?
Before this project, I wasn't really familiar analyzing and interpreting data with the whole school-wide and the student population because I'm really focused on myself and how I can improve my grades, my GPA, and my test scores.
I have only ever worked with data in my statistics class, and it's like small groups of data. So getting on the dashboard and seeing like really big groups of data and seeing the whole state and how it's compared to my school district was really interesting and fun to see.
I also wasn't super familiar with looking into data for my school. I think it gave me a bigger picture of why our like data is the way it is. Oh, sorry.
With this project, what were some of the skills that you learned through the process of completing the project as it relates to the data, as it relates to leadership? A lot of you mentioned the focus groups that you all created. So what were some of the skills that you learned?
I would say one skill that me and Daniela learned is how to analyze gaps between different demographics and to really like make sense of what you're seeing on the screen. Like, I'm aware that analyzing data is a huge part of healthcare, and I intend to pursue a career in healthcare. And like analyzing medical health records and stuff like that, that really helped me in the long run.
A skill I gained was being more empathetic on how people are behind the scenes. Like, for graduation rates, usually we connect it to grades or like motivation, but like realizing that they're lacking motivation, it made me realize to be more empathetic towards people.
What was the most meaningful part of this experience?
I would say the most meaningful part of this experience is putting together my focus group and like meeting new people that I don't see throughout the day in my focus group. So, and like hearing what they had to say about all this data that was going on and like how it felt to them.
For me, it's between two things. It really helped me like hone my presentation abilities, and because I've done public speaking before, it just really helped me be more confident with it, and being able to learn more about the ninth grade on track metric and take it and apply it in the work that I do with the CTE program at my school.
I would say the most meaningful part for me was like going off what Grayson said about talking to peers. I really found that really meaningful, like communicating with peers that I don't get to see on a day-to-day basis. And I remember having a conversation with one student, and she was like mentioning how, oh, she asked me like, oh, Tawasul, like, why don't they show these graphs during like town halls, junior town halls, and assemblies and stuff like that. And that really gave me a different perspective.
Thank you all for sharing. So our conference theme for the year is Stronger Together, creating opportunity for every learner. So with this in mind, how can schools better engage students to ensure that their opinions are considered when they are making decisions?
What I think they should do is they should listen to the students and act on what the students say. At my school, we have a superintendent, like student board type of thing, and we meet like once a month on a Wednesday, and we talk about certain things that are going on, like with the superintendents and stuff. At like the start of our meetings, we were asked to like put together a list of like our ideal teacher, like what characteristics a teacher would have that we would want. And the superintendents took that and made a thing called Portrait of an Educator, which has a list of all of that stuff compiled, and they're using it in the hiring, they're using it in the classrooms, they're doing this thing. It's like they're calling it like shout outs, but it's like a Yelp for teachers where students can like tell the teachers that they're meeting this criteria, that they're doing a good job. And so just really taking what students are saying, listening to them, and then acting on it.
Schools can better engage students by just giving them an output for their input or for their voice. And this can be through student surveys, student-friendly surveys to be specific, and as well as meeting with school councils or student councils and just hearing out what they have to say for the student population. And also, students, I am a student, and speaking from a student perspective, a student's voice does matter, and when they realize that their voice does matter, it gets them more invested and more influenced to come to school.
I want to touch a little bit more on that last questions for you, Paige and Aisha, and anyone. Feel free to. But how did it feel? I hear that you were heard. So how did that feel during your experience in those two scenarios that you mentioned?
I can start the question. I never thought about having a leadership role. When I was younger, I was really self-conscious of myself, and I realized that, if I hid behind a mask, no one really recognized me. So when I realized that, people are actually wanting to hear out from students' perspectives to make the school environment better and more fitted for them. So I decided to take on the role as the host and treasurer, and I realized as soon as I took that role, I realized I can really help the student population out, and not speaking from a person who's just thinking about dominance or just asserting things, just speaking.
I have to agree with what you said about like not thinking of yourself like when you were younger in like a leadership position. I never would, like, if you were to tell my younger self that I'm like talking in front of a bunch of teachers about like all of this stuff, I would be like, I don't know if that was me actually. But it's allowed me to get outside of my comfort zone. It's allowed me to find passion for things that I would like otherwise not have imagined even like considering. Like for the CTE stuff, I did it because like my friend was like, "Hey, you should do this." And I was like, "Okay, I'll try it out." And like the more I did it, the more I like fell in love with it, and like helping students, like giving students a voice and improving in areas. It means a lot to me being able to provide that voice for students and getting to talk to students about it. Like we went to like the middle schools and got their like opinions on like what they want to see. And it's just really meaningful to like be the change that I would like to see.
Thank you. This is getting to the last question, but we are at this conference today with people that are working at a variety of places, all striving to just make education better, right? So we have individuals that are at high schools, at colleges, community-based organizations. What is one thing that you would want them to take away today and be able to do for students to help them prepare for life after high school?
I would say one thing I want my audience to take away is to not undermine your potential to change a student's life. Like, raise your hand if you've seen the movie Freedom Writers. It was a great movie, and it was about this, for those that didn't see it, I'm going to summarize it real quick. It was about this teacher named Mrs. Gruwell, and it was her first time teaching in Long Beach, California. And like admin, teachers, everyone in that school was telling her, "Oh, don't teach in the school because these kids are quote unquote unteachable." And regardless of what they said, like she disregarded what they said and understood that she had the potential to change her students' life. And she did. She changed all of their lives. And that's really inspiring. And I feel like that's something that we should all take away with us today.
To add to what Tawasso said, I feel like teachers should keep motivating students and not tell them to be realistic with their goals. Instead, push them to be delusional to achieve their goals. And I feel like a lot of adults have told me like they feel that when they want to achieve things, they get like doors closed to them. Like they're gonna shut doors in your face. I feel like you should try to not be the door that you're shutting towards a student. Instead you should motivate them to do better.
I agree with what both Tawassel and Danny said. I feel like teachers like do so much for students and can provide that, and they should be able to provide a space for students where they feel like they're heard, they're supported, and like they can ask for help. They can be like they said, they can change their students' lives with help by just accepting them.
I totally agree with Tawassel. I cannot second that enough. Having a teacher that is backing you all the time and is in your corner and motivating you pushes you to achieve any dream that I could ever imagine. I mean, all the stuff that I've received and I've gotten, I could not do without my teachers and the supporters around me.
I totally agree with Danny because when I was younger in elementary school, I was also backed in the corner and didn't want to come out the corner at all. So when I realized that a teacher, well, a dean to be specific, a dean helped me to where I am today and taking on leadership roles and speaking in front of a lot of people, I realized that I could do a lot. So just forming bonds with students or just anyone in general is really good.
Thank you all. I really want to take the time to thank our panelists. This is going to be really cheesy, but I hope today you feel heard, you felt seen, and that you know that you're in a room that is paying attention and hearing your voices. So thank you all for sharing your stories, your insights, and for bringing it back to your school because you provided opportunities for those students when you had those focus groups as well. And for everyone, I do invite you all to challenge yourself throughout the rest of the conference and really think about where there is space for you to provide opportunities to lift the voices of your students. So thank you.